During the extended period, another 4,000 Russian citizens living in Latvia signed up for Latvian state language exam. At the end of 2022, the Latvian Parliament Saeima adopted amendments to the law. Russian citizens living in Latvia must pass a state language test in order to obtain a permanent residence permit. Basically, this requirement applies to people who have lived in Latvia for many years, but instead of Latvian citizenship, they preferred Russian citizenship. Previously, it was assumed that the requirement would apply to approximately 18,000 Russian citizens, according to the Ministry of Education and Science. From February 1st to March 24th, 8,131 Russian citizens registered for the Latvian state language test, and only about a half passed it. The deadline for registration for the first state language exam for Russian citizens has been extended until June 30th, and these people will have to take the exam between July 1st and August 13th this year. This period is set so that Russian citizens can sign up for a re-examination in August from August 1st to August 31st. Those Russian citizens who did not score the required number of points in the first exam will be able to sign up for a second exam, which will be held from September 4th to November 30th. It is still possible to sign up for the Latvian language exam on a first-come, first-served basis, including those passed for one or another category of knowledge or the state language, and those who go for Latvian citizenship. So, Leila, this one would require my previous explanation. Don't you think that in the past, the conciliation, short-sightedness, and political cowardice of some Latvian politicians played a bad joke on all of us these days, since the decisions that were not made back in the day in a stand-by, so to say, mode are now made in a forced haste mode, which means that the quality of such decisions suffer. What I mean is, why give the Kremlin the pretext for protecting the so-called honor and dignity of those unfortunate Russians forced to learn the Latvian language? Why turn the whole good idea of state language test, which is a good idea, against us, ourselves, for what possibly can be the result of that language test? For example, for a, 80-year-old woman or a man who has never spoken a word in Latvian until this very day. Aren't we, with our own hands, giving the Russian propaganda a boost to their nationalistic agenda? You know what I'm talking about. What if we limit the examination age to, say, 75 or even 80 years and higher, and or health reasons, thus getting ourselves rid of the Kremlin's propaganda statements, European Court human rights trials that are being filed right now on behalf of those pro-Kremlin parties, you know, parties that I'm talking about, and other unnecessary embarrassments?
I must correct you a little bit. So people from 75 years and older, they don't have to pass the exam.
Great.
They can prolong. Yeah, that's the thing. Actually, my party, my political party, the Progressives, we had our suggestion that we should change that it's from that it's not such a high age. It should be lowered. And then we had some other more, but we are in opposition up to now, so we were not listened to. We wanted to soften these things, but actually that law was changed, and so some of the problems were the dates were postponed and etc. So it was softened with time.
It is great to hear that. It is great to hear that this is changeable, or this is doable, that the law is not, that rigid political architecture, that the structure that cannot be moved, and the sacrosanct thing. In Latvia, it is not the case, and the law can be changed according to the actual political situation, which is great news.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that's a problem. We have a lot of people who applied for the exam, didn't get ready enough. Because another thing that I want to stress, it's really basic. It's A2 level. So it's things like every day, if you go shopping, to ask for something, to know some basic numbers, to ask for direction, to give the time or ask for the time, etc. Things like that. So it's really basic. But the big number of people who didn't pass it. So it's actually quite alarming. I don't know what the reasons are. Didn't they get ready at all?
Maybe they don't want to.
Possibly, of course.
Because I know that maybe the Latvian language is not the easiest language on the planet, but if you really want it, and say if you are a refugee running from Putin's regime, and you really need to learn 100 words, and you can do it. But if you live all your life in Latvia? Isn't it insulting for a Latvian nation that someone doesn't know like 20 words, 100 words, and they don't want to? Maybe that is the reason, and maybe this is the only reason. I know that you want to soften the law to make it more correct and to deprive Kremlin of any propagandistic agenda. But sometimes this is just the people that they don't want to, if they don't like Latvia, they're always welcome to pack their things and go to the country they love the most. Isn't that the easiest way?
That is the thing. What I can agree with you is that, of course, it's a mistake of the past that we didn't start this thing like long time ago, that we wouldn't have this issue at the moment. Of course, I believe Latvia is a democratic country. We have to, as always, wait in like, how do we accomplish this thing? And of course, there's going to be, and there are, I'm sure, people who either didn't apply or came to the exam with that attitude of like, I'm just going to be one of those who didn't pass it, and let's see what's happened. Like, let's do some provocation, etc. Of course, and I don't know if it's going to come to that. Let's see, but. In such cases, I actually wouldn't mind people going back to going to the country they feel strongly for. And so if they believe it's so bad in Latvia and it's so much better in Russia, they should go and live there.
I mean, it's very easy. It's Latvia. The Latvian nation runs the country. I'm not saying that I never felt that, no one told me not to speak Russian in my family, English, German in my family. I have 3 languages actually. So I was free. But my father talked Latvian easy, and it just came to me. And I need to learn Latvian because this is Latvia, as simple as that.
That's the thing, that if we talk about these language issues, we have still people who cannot communicate well in Latvian, even younger generations, although not so many anymore. But still, we have to ensure that every citizen of Latvia, every inhabitant in Latvia, everyone who lives here, they can communicate in Latvian. They can, because it's like what my party is suggesting, what we have had in our program of pre-election, etc., it's to have finally a united school education system where everyone, starting from kindergarten, are getting education in Latvian. Not having Latvian as some subject, like separate language course, but having education in Latvian. And that way we can really unite and not have those two different parts of society, exactly, which sometimes cannot communicate.
But this is what Soviet, pardon me for interrupting you. This is exactly what the Soviet plan and now Russian plan to divide the community, and it worked perfectly well. Like the Russian language and the great Russian culture, it's a different theme and different question there, but we can be discussing forever. But this is as simple as that. The Latvian national ethnicity, you should not be Latvian. You shouldn't. There is no law that tells you that you have to be Latvian, but you have to respect the nation, and you have to respect the culture of the country you're living in, and you have to know to some extent the language of it and the history. That's all that is asked. I know it because I passed the exams.
Yeah, that's also, as you said, it's a question about, do you respect the country you live in? It's a question about respect, about willingness to really be part of it, to integrate, to be able to participate in decision making also. Because that's the thing. The thing I want to, it's not just about Latvian security, but it's also about these families, these individuals who do not get the same opportunities. Like, if you don't know the state language, the official state language, you might not get the job you want. You might not get the better paid job, etc. Yeah. So it's really important to know the language. Then I want to stress, we are really the thing that so many times Kremlin is trying to kind of illustrate Latvia as we are so discriminating to Russians. No, you have lived here, you know it. We can have people speaking in the streets, speaking in the shops, everywhere. We do not forbid. We are not actually everyone can talk Russian in their homes. with their friends, etc. The only thing we are asking for is being able to also speak our language, like our state language, and being able to participate in all the activities that the responsible citizen should participate in, because it's in the interest not just of the country, but of those individuals. So yeah, that's the thing I want to add to all this like very loaded question and thing.
Yeah, absolutely.